Hi, everybody. I wanted to share a little bit about what was going on with me lately, and this is take 77 of this video. And I've tried to find a really great, succinct way of telling everybody where I'm at, and obviously that's not happening. So this is like a free verse ramble of what is going on, and hopefully this will. Um, enable me to share in a really non-confrontational way um, what I'm struggling with. Um, my whole family and everybody that I've come into contact basically with ever knows that I've always been a really picky eater, and I thought that was a cute personality quirk. Um, and over the last 2 years, I found a health program and I got really healthy and I lost a bunch of weight and I've helped other people to do that. And I thought I was doing great. I noticed that I was becoming more and more concerned with my weight and the eating the right foods and exercising the right amount, if there's a right amount. And um, as a joke, I took a "Are your eating habits healthy?" quiz online. It probably popped up because I'm always researching healthy foods, healthy recipes, healthy fitness tips, whatever. And there were maybe 50, 60 questions. And, if you answered, 1 through 5, you had great healthy habits. If you answered 6 through 10, then you had maybe some habits that were slightly unhealthy. If you answered 10 through 15, it was very possible that you had some disordered eating or some eating disorder tendencies. You may want to get that checked out. And if you answered over, 15, you should seek professional help immediately. And I answered I got a 32. Okay, so fluke, internet survey, that's not very good. So I took another one and another one. And I took about 14 of them thinking that if I got one really good answer, that would somehow negate all these other ones. And no, I didn't. Every single quiz I took said your thinking patterns and your eating habits and your attitude towards food is very, very unhealthy and it could be harming you. You should talk to somebody. So I kind of laughed it off, but I started getting a little concerned, and I did. I talked to somebody. Um, and instead of reassuring me that, yeah, I'm fine, it's not really a big deal, um, what they said was, yeah, you need to go get a diagnosis and start treatment. And what I have is called, um, it's an eating disorder. It's a mental health issue, not a weight issue. And it's called atypical anorexia. And basically, what that means is that I have all the triggers and symptoms of anorexia without meeting the diagnostic criteria of a BMI under 17. And I thought that I was doing great. I mean, I'm really relatively high functioning. I have a family and I'm a mom to 6 kids, which makes anyone a little crazy. And I have a happy marriage and a job that I love, and I'm not underweight and I'm not extremely overweight. So this couldn't possibly be as serious as they make it sound, right? The more research I did, what I found was yes, this is me. And yes, it is very serious. In fact, most what we think of as typical anorexia strikes mostly teenagers, but um, you think of, people posting pictures and wasting away, or, you know, college students are rock stars, being bulimic, and it's this phase. And it's actually really, really, really serious. It has the highest mortality rate of any mental illness, 20%, and chronic. Um, I don't want to say illness, but having it chronically where it's not necessarily the most extreme. I'm not being hospitalized or anything like that. Can actually do more damage long term. If I didn't recover, I was shortening my lifespan by an average of 12 years. My body systems had started to shut down. Um, and so for me, what that looked like, what led me to kind of what the some of the symptoms were that were pretty indicative of disordered eating. Um, Wanting to eat the right foods. Now, this is pretty normal, right? Everybody's eating clean or eating paleo or eating only this or giving up sugar, right? That's normal. So I didn't think that was a big deal. Being obsessed with your weight. Well, everybody's on a diet, right? I mean, almost everyone I know, so I didn't think that was a big deal either. Counting calories and the food thing and everything, and finding that there are less and less safe foods that you will allow yourself to eat. You plan your meals and you worry if you can't plan your meals or if you can't find the right foods. You're constantly thinking about what you will eat, what you won't eat, when you're going to eat next, that kind of thing. And, for me, that was normal too. Things about, not it becomes a big part of who you are. You start to withdraw a little bit. Maybe you feel like you have a food addiction, or you crave foods and you try over and over again to get a handle on your weight. If you overeat, it's not, oh, that was a mistake. It becomes a part of you, like shame, like somehow I'm broken and what's wrong with me and I'm not a good person. Um, and so different, different parts of my body had started to shut down. I had a lot of physical symptoms like low blood pressure. My nails and hair and things had slowed down growth. My hair pretty much stopped growing. My nails were brittle. My skin is dry. I stopped having my regular monthly cycle. All those things are really, really typical signs in combination with everything else. And the problem is that except for some of the physical symptoms, I know a lot of people who are like this. So it told me, well, I'm just normal. Everybody does this. It can't be a big deal. And instead, the problem is that a lot of people out there have disordered eating. They may not have an eating disorder. You can't get anorexia. What happens is when most people go on a diet or, try to modify their body in some way, they either do it or they don't. And if they do it, you have to keep maintaining that in order to maintain those results. And if you don't do it or you yo-yo diet, that's okay. It's not, necessarily indicative of your worth as a person. But for me and for other people with eating disorders, that process triggers something in your brain, kind of like my kids with diabetes. It wasn't just genetics and it wasn't just environment, but they were predisposed to that, and then the environment created enough triggers where eventually they went over the edge, and you get the full-blown whatever. So that was a really long lead up to me saying that I am now officially trying to recover. And that's really scary because when you have an eating disorder that makes you afraid of food and afraid of gaining weight, when recovery, obviously the solution is to eat, and that's really hard. So I'm working on that. I've done extensive research on eating disorders, on recovery. I looked at inpatient and outpatient and group therapy and all these different things. And I really wanted something that was documented and science-based that I could wrap my head around. This works. Here's why it works. Here's why your body reacts the way it does. And I found something called the Mini Mod Guidelines. And basically, it's based on science. And I'd like to share a little bit about it in case anyone out there is struggling with this, and for my friends and family, so you know why I'm doing what I'm doing. It's a very specific recovery plan. Our bodies have a natural weight set point. And if you think about it, most people with any sort of personality or physical trait fall somewhere in a bell curve, whether it's athletic ability or height or weight or you know, I don't know, all of those things, all of those traits and abilities. There's a group of people that fall, a lot of them, towards the average, and then fewer and fewer people as you get towards the ends of the spectrum. Well, it turns out our bodies, and this is science fact, not my program, not a theory, not the next new diet craze, have a set point where they like to maintain. And it's different for everybody, just like height or anything else. Um, for example, my brother doesn't hardly ever think about what he eats. And he works really hard at his construction job. And within 10% of your body weight, you'll fluctuate within 10%. If you're extremely sedentary, you may fall towards the higher end of that 10% spectrum. If you're really, really active or you exercise a lot, you may go lower on that spectrum, but your body wants to maintain that weight. My husband Jeremy is maybe 2 inches taller, and he weighs like 30 pounds more than Brennan, and he never thinks about what he eats either. They eat whatever they want all the time, and they're both at a very healthy weight. Their bodies just like to maintain that. So what happens if you eat too much? We all know people who can eat whatever they want, and they go to McDonald's drive-thru, and they don't count calories, and they don't, oh, I shouldn't eat that cookie, and they just maintain their weight. And so what happens on those days that they go to McDonald's drive-thru and they eat the cookie? Their body will speed up their metabolism. Their body wants to keep them at that weight. Say your set point is 150. It's called set point theory because even though it's a scientific fact that we know your body does it, they don't know how your body does it. So when I say set point theory, I don't want you to get confused and think this is like a still being discussed scientific experiment. It's actually fact. So on the days that you eat too much, your body speeds up your metabolism. Maybe you get fidgety. Maybe you just burn more calories. Your body will actually make you a more restless sleeper, and you will burn off tons of calories in your sleep. For all you dieters out there, how cool is that? On the days that you don't eat, maybe those people forget to eat, maybe they're in the car, maybe they're sick, maybe they foolishly started a diet, your body will slow down your metabolism, and it will make you hungry and have you crave energy foods, so that you can, it doesn't want you losing too much weight. It wants to keep you at that perfect weight for whatever your body is. And it will be a healthy weight. It may not be the perfect weight you want, but it will be a healthy weight. And so your body is self-correcting all the time. If you think about it, one analogy I heard relating to something else, which works really good about this, is the Apollo space program. When Apollo 11 went to the moon, I want you to guess what percentage of the time they were on course as they went to the moon. 2%. 98% of the voyage they were off course, but they had a gyroscope that pointed to the moon, and so they were constantly self-correcting, and obviously they made it. They didn't, miss the moon. So your body has this set point where it's constantly self-correcting. It's changing your hunger cues, it's changing your metabolism, it's changing your energy and activity level so that you will maintain this healthy weight. And there aren't very many ways to mess that really great system up. One of the ways is if you have a medical condition or medications that will drastically affect your weight. But there aren't many of them out there. It's very uncommon. I'm not talking like the ever-present thyroid condition. Thyroid condition is a result of your body trying to save calories. It changes the hormone levels in your thyroid. Um, so that and, extreme starvation or overfeeding. The only other way you can change that perfect balancing system is with dieting. And if you think about dieting, um, for me anyway, it looks like I wanted to lose weight or get healthy or something. I was overweight because I was constantly under eating, so my body was saving calories. Anytime you eat less than the daily minimums of what your body requires to function, your body's going to slow down your metabolism and hold on to calories. Now, we all know successful dieters, right? 95% of diets fail and people gain the weight back plus more, but there's that 5%. And basically, that 5% is those people that keep dieting forever. Like I said, your set point is really hard to over or undershoot. So if you change your set point, you can run and you can diet, but to maintain that loss that's outside of that 10% range, you have to run and diet forever. You have to keep doing it in order to keep your body there. And other than that, your body's going to always want to bring you back. And so, we know people who have yo-yo dieted, they do great, they lose weight, and all of a sudden they find themselves craving cookies and craving ice cream. And then they go binge and they, oh, why'd I do that? Oh, I'm such a bad person. Oh, I guess I was, When I first heard of set point, I thought it was basically a fat acceptance program. Well, I just know what weight I'm supposed to be at, and I'll just do whatever I want. And if I'm fat, I'll just love myself. And I didn't want to be fat. Not because I think overweight people are worthless or I have a prejudice, but it became a personality trait. It became a character flaw for me personally. When it was the worst thing that could happen to me. I would rather get cancer or die, which tells you how sick I was. But when people diet, their brain notices an energy deficit. They're eating less than their body needs to function. It slows down your metabolism. It starts shutting down systems in your body to give all the extra energy to keep your brain alive and your heart beating. And it tells you, I need energy now. Well, what's the quickest way to get energy? We're not talking whole, healthy, whole grain breads and raw oatmeal and apples. Your body wants energy now. So it's looking for ultra-processed foods. Ultra-processed foods may be less nutritious as far as minerals and vitamins and, omega-3 fatty acids, but they give you, donuts give you those calories and those carbs and that sugar quickly. That's what your brain needs. That's what your brain wants. So it's not surprising that when you start starving yourself, your brain says, give me energy and give it to me as fast as possible. So we eat the whole bag of cookies. And so, I did this cycle over and over, and I'd find myself over exercising and not being able to go to sleep in the middle of the night till I had ridden my 15 miles on my extra bicycle. I felt guilty if I ate too much, and I'd have to, compensate for that with some unhealthy behaviors and things. And what I've learned is that basically I was creating a chronic starvation state for my body. I thought I was doing something good. I don't want to be overweight. That's a problem. Let's fix that. I believe that we have a Heavenly Father who created us, and He made us pretty darn well. And when we try to mess that up, it doesn't always go well. I mean, we can be in charge of our breathing. I can hold my breath. Okay, I can be in charge of it. But if I decided that I'm gonna be in charge of it, the first time I got lost in a good book, I'd suffocate to death. Okay, there are some things that even though I can be in charge of, I shouldn't be because I don't do a very good job at it. And eating is one of those things. Our bodies are really good at maintaining our metabolism. They're telling us when they're hungry. They're telling us when we want to eat. And if we don't eat enough, it'll compensate. If we eat too much, it'll compensate. When we try to change that, we mess up a system that's already working pretty well. One of the scary stats I found was they've done studies between people that are at a healthy weight and people that are overweight, and the one prevalent factor in the overweight group was that those people had dieted. That was the number one factor they had in common. If you diet, you are 3 times as likely to end up overweight. You want your kids to not do the yo-yo diet cycle that you've lived through, and you want them to end up at a healthy weight, don't start force feeding them vegetables. Don't start, teaching them about carbs and proteins and all that nonsense. Don't let them diet, ever. And that, I mean, if you could give them a vitamin that would make them 3 times as likely to be at a healthy weight, you would do it. You know what the healthy vitamin is? Letting them eat what they want, when they want. And their body will crave healthy foods when they need them. Sometimes they'll crave ice cream for breakfast, and that's okay. So my recovery program, like I said, it's called the Mini Mod program, and I chose it because it's actually based on science and results and recovery stories that I know work, where people have actually gone into remission and maintained their healthy weight, and more importantly, their healthy mindset and their healthy behavior. Basically means, and so all that was like this preamble to why I chose what I did. Our bodies need, for example, a grown-up woman needs 2,500 calories a day to function. What about the 2,000 calorie a day government guidelines? Well, all those 2,000 calorie a day guidelines are based on self-reporting. And self-reporting is not nearly as accurate as actual confirmation, lab testing, what people actually eat. People will, underreport for a variety of reasons. But when they actually test people in a lab, people who are maintaining healthy weight, the women average about 2,500 calories a day, men average about 3,000. Growing teenagers average about 3,500, up to about age 25. So the recovery secret is not very complicated. You eat your minimums every day. You have to eat enough for your body to function. Period. Every day, no excuses. 2,500 calories. And it doesn't matter what they are. Because you're not only maintaining your healthy weight, you are rebuilding and repairing all of this damage you've done. You're trying to get your digestive system up again. You're trying to do cell repair. Your hair finally starts growing again after it all starts falling out, because all the dead hair falls out, and that's lovely, let me tell you. So the guidelines are: eat your minimums every day, never ever restrict, and don't weigh yourself. And that's and don't exercise. If you think about it, yes, at some point in my life I will become more active, but right now my body needs to trust that it can use all the calories I'm giving it to repair and rebuild. And it can't do that if occasionally I stop giving it calories and it thinks I'm going to start starving again. It can't do that if I'm giving it calories and then burning them off with walking and jogging and whatever. It has to actually be able to use them consistently every day in order to start the repair process and continue that. So for a while, you can't do very much exercise. You have to really be pretty sedentary, which is good because you're freaking exhausted. You wouldn't, when I was living on 500 calories a day, I could ride my Exervital 15 miles, and I could go for walks, and I could do sit-ups. And now that I'm eating, I'm exhausted because all that energy is going to repair and recovery. And the neat thing about this is, yes, I do officially have an eating disorder, and it is a very serious thing. If I were sick, I wouldn't hesitate to recover and take the time that I need and do what the doctors told me to get better. But when it's food, it feels like it's just no big deal. Like, just eat and exercise and don't get fat. And it's not complicated. Everybody in the world is doing it, right? But it is pretty complicated for me. So I'm trying to take it seriously and follow the recovery guidelines. There are definitely days when it's hard. Most people's reaction is when they get hungry, they want to eat. If they don't eat, they get cranky, and when they do eat, they feel better. If you have an eating disorder, a lot of times your reaction is to not eat when you're hungry. And because the neurotransmitters in our brain are a little bit differently, not eating feels better than eating when you're hungry. It gives you this sense of calm. It helps you de-stress. I don't know, releases cortisol or something in your brain where it gives you this sense of control and you feel better. So it's hard giving up something that makes you feel better. It's hard when I don't feel like eating and I have to. It's hard when I want to exercise and I see people toning up and posting pictures and I can't do that right now, and possibly not ever. I can't be immersed in diet culture. I can't. And as a health coach, that's tricky because a lot of people do want to start with losing weight. And what I found for that is, according to the scientific studies, and I would love to share them with you if you want to know more about them, this recovery program doesn't work with just people who have eating disorders. It works with anybody. If you've yo-yo dieted, if you think you have a food addiction, if you feel like you're overweight, you want to know the only thing that will get your body back to doing what it's supposed to do, which is maintaining your healthy weight without you having to think about it, is eat. That's it. Follow the recovery guidelines. You eat the minimums every day. If you have been restricting ever, which means anything less than your daily minimums, anything less than an average of 2,500 calories a day is restriction. Okay, so if you've done a diet, if you've done paleo or my 5-in-1 plan or anything like that, and then you feel like you're having trouble sticking to the plan, or you binge or things like that, binging isn't binging if you've created an energy deficit. If you've restricted and created an energy deficit, it's not a binge, it's reactive eating. If you didn't feed your kids for 3 days and then they ate a whole bunch of food, would you say they're binging? No. They're compensating for starving. And that's what we're doing. When you go into the kitchen at 3 o'clock at night or 3 o'clock in the morning and eat, an entire pan of brownies or a gallon of ice cream or whatever it is, and most of you probably don't do that, but, it's not because you have a food addiction. It's not because you're a weak person who can't live the healthy life that other people are. It's because your brain is saying, I have this huge energy deficit and I'm starving to death. It's what you're supposed to do. It's the message your body is supposed to send you. Like I said, I believe that we were designed by a creator. And I don't think that he made us broken. And I also don't think that the eating instructions, the care instructions for maintaining our bodies are so complicated that we have to count calories and exercise and worry about what we eat and worry about not eating too much. And if it were that complicated, he would have sent the instructions. And the fact that he didn't means that it's not. And yes, it's hard. I know people who can't put on a pound. It doesn't matter how curvy they want to be. They're at BMI 18 and that's where they're staying. No matter what they eat. They eat Coke and candy bars for breakfast every day and they're never gaining weight. I know people that don't have to worry about what they eat. They feel really comfortable. They're active. They hike. They rock climb. And they're BMI 25, which is probably technically overweight. That's where their body's at. It doesn't matter if they exercise. It doesn't matter if they eat healthy. That's where they're comfortable at. And I think there's something beautiful about that. For me personally, it's scary. So as I do this recovery process, and it can take anywhere from 6 months to 2 years, which is a long time, you may initially overshoot. your body's optimal weight set point. But during that 6 months to 2 years, you will come back. And in the meantime, the number one rule was no restriction. So you have to get in those calories, and it doesn't matter what those calories are at this point. Your body will crave the nutrition it needs later. You low in potassium, your body will crave bananas and other things. That's not a problem. Right now, what your body needs is energy, and a lot of times it's really normal to crave quick energy. You may crave donuts. You may eat a candy bar for breakfast. You may eat ice cream every night. It doesn't matter. And 2,500 calories a day is the minimum for normal people to maintain a healthy weight. So most likely you're going to be hungrier than that. You're going to need more than that in order to have extra to do repair and recovery. You may go through extreme hunger phases where you're eating 3, 5, 8, 10,000 calories a day. And that is normal as well. And so you're going to gain weight. Obviously, that's part of a weight loss restrictive eating disorder is gaining some weight. There's also some bloating and pain, discomfort, things like that. That's really normal. If you think about when you sprain your ankle, you may twist it, it hurts, you run home on it, and then the next day it swells up and you can't walk. And you think, oh my gosh, I ran home on it yesterday. How could it be worse today? How could I have an injury that I didn't even know about? Number one, you can't see it, like a mental illness. And number two, the healing process is sometimes more painful than just continuing in your injury. So I eat, and sometimes eat a lot of junk food, which is hard because I spent the last 3 years of my life focusing on only eating healthy foods and watching what I eat and watching the amount that I eat and eating the right things at the right times. And I can't do that right now. And I have to remember that, number one, I have to trust the process. I have to trust my body, and that it's important. I can't keep functioning in my illness. I can't present that kind of example for my kids. I can't shorten my lifespan in order to make sure I can fit in a bikini. And again, just let it get going. And I don't know where I'm going to end up. There's not that many people in my family who have never dieted, and that's where most of your influence for your optimal set point is going to come from genetics. They've done adoption studies and separated twin studies, and most of it is genetics, and only a small part of it is environment. So if you look around, if there's anyone in your family who's never dieted, that's kind of, the genetics of what you're likely to look at. And until then, I'm gaining weight, and it's hard, and it's scary, and I have to buy stretchy clothes and give away all my size 6s, and then my 8s, and then my 10s, and my clothes, and who knows where I'm going to end up. So I buy stretchy clothes, and I lay around on the couch a lot, and I worry about what people think, especially as a health coach. I just imagine everyone's thinking, wow, she really let herself go. And I want to wear a big sign. No, I have an eating disorder. I'm in recovery. I can't just take it easy. I can't just eat a little healthier or exercise to make sure that I don't gain too much weight. You can't cure a disease by being afraid of what the disease is afraid of. If I am worried about weight gain and that's what's triggering my mental illness, I can't recover while being worried about weight gain. I have to trust the process and realize that my body will gain the weight, maybe use it at first. It starts to gain it right around the stomach area to cushion your organs and kind of a protective mode. And then what it does is it will use those calories and that energy to heal you and restart all your functions that it started to shut down, and then it redistributes the rest and it kind of tapers off, and you get back to that healthy weight. And you can maintain that indefinitely, forever. eating whatever you want. And there's actual scientific studies on it. I don't care how many people think that dieting is a good idea. It's not, and it doesn't work. And I love our Habits of Health program because it's also based on the guidelines that we believe in my church about how to take care of our healthy bodies. Things like, um, eating all foods in moderation, a variety of foods, eating, foods in season, um, opting for healthy, good choices when you can, not smoking or drinking or doing drugs, um, being relatively active, not workouts. You don't have to work out. It's doing things you enjoy. And some of those things are going to be active. Even if you're a little lady who likes to garden, that's going to be active for you. People who go to the gym and all this Fitspo. I don't know if you guys know what that is. Fitspiration. It's kind of a take on Finspo. People who admire anorexics and things were posting pictures of super super skinny people, and they called it Finspiration, and so they shortened it to Finspo. And then people now have replaced these super skinny anorexic pictures with super skinny buff pictures of workout queens who are also a size 0. And it's somehow okay to model that that's our goal and that's what we all should look like as long as the size 0 now has muscles. And that's great if you, well, no, it's not great. It's terrible. But if you want to do that, that's fine. But there is no health component to it. It's purely aesthetic and it's purely preference. If you need those muscles, like you do a job every day and you need muscles, your body will develop muscles by doing that job every day. I know people who go to the gym 6 days a week to build muscles and they don't lift anything ever. It's just they want to look like they have muscles and not this arm flab. And that's fine. But it's not a sign of health. You don't decrease your mortality rate with the amount of reps that you can do. Basically, a lot of people build muscle to help them burn calories, which is basically another way to diet more effectively, which we kind of already talked about was really not a good idea. Your body's going to fight you every step of the way. So all of that is my really long explanatory letter to my family and friends and clients, if you're interested, about yes, I am still supporting people in their Get Healthy journey, and I am on a Get Healthy journey of my own. Right now, my Get Healthy journey involves sleeping as much as possible, eating ice cream every day, and candy bars, and things that are high calorie, 3,000 calories a day on average is really hard to get in if you're eating salad. I take my vitamins, don't worry. But and watching myself gain weight, which sucks. It's really hard. But it's part of the process, and it wasn't anyone's fault. My parents didn't trigger it. They, my dad was saying, "We raised you to eat healthy. We made all kinds of foods for you." Yes, it's not your fault. It's a mental thing. Think of it like diabetes. It's nobody's fault, and I don't mean to say that it's the same thing or compare it like that. But it's not a case of just get over it. There's a very specific physical component that when you go through that process will help the mental component. And so I'm also seeing a therapist, which sounds really yuppie and self-indulgent, but cognitive behavior therapy is really important because as you have an eating disorder and you that takes over your life, you don't develop and grow as a person. And I've had it since I was maybe 7 or 8. So there's, it's was it Woody Allen? Somebody said there's no there. He said of Hollywood or Los Angeles or something. But there's so far no me there. It's all food, literally 24 hours a day. The first thing I think when I wake up is food. And what am I going to eat? And what am I going to not let myself eat? And how many calories does that have? And I can't eat that. And what if I go somewhere and I don't like the food and they don't have my special food? And am I fat and I should work out more? And look at that person. Wow, they're way skinnier than me. They must be a better person and have more willpower. I mean, it was nonstop in my head 24 hours a day for 25 years. So um, it was really important to take the time to physically recover, which will help mentally recover. And therapy helps with giving you some tools to to be a person. Things like emotions or relationships or things that you've messed up or ignored along the way, you now have tools to do that. Even before you're necessarily weight restored, or back to a healthy remission status. So I'm sorry this is so long, but if any of you hung in there until the end, I love you. I really request your prayers and your support. Um, and if anyone wants to, message me or let me know that you're in this with me, we can kind of be a support for each other. Mostly I just talk Jeremy's ear off and hope he doesn't fall asleep because he comes from a family of everyone who eats whatever they want whenever they want, and they're all super healthy and fit, and none of them exercise or go on diets or anything like that. They just live, and it's really inspiring to see. I wondered why I couldn't do it, and so I diet and diet and diet to get there. And it turns out the dieting, and not eating and overexercising was the reason I couldn't get there. If you act like those people, your body will act like those people. Um, so anyway, I love you all. I'm going to send out a letter to my family and friends. So if you didn't hang in there until the end, you won't see this message, but I love you too. And let's let's get healthy for permanent.